Because in these interdimensional realms, in these higher realms of true civility, everyone knows the power of the God force. Everyone knows the power of divine love. Imagine moving into the future where we are a planet of enlightened ascended masters, where we've understood the things the great ones have always wanted us to live, not just to know here, but to live and embody. Imagine when we are there, and some people are there now, many actually are there now. But imagine then what? What do you think will happen? What do you think will be revealed around you within the interdimensional fields? There are layers and layers and layers of dimensions right here we can step into in an instant when our hearts are pure. We will find ourselves living among truly civilized species. You'll find, as we share, that I use the word we a lot. Not I, but we. When I say we, I am talking about 7 beings that work with me. So I'll share a little bit about my journey so you can understand some of the things that I've stepped into and why. When I was 7, my parents, a little bit of background, my parents came from Norway. They were Jewish sympathizers, not Jewish, but they couldn't stand the idea that the Nazis were killing the Jews. It didn't make sense. Because they were Jewish sympathizers, they were both sent to concentration camps in Sweden. Anyone who was not supporting Hitler, who made noise about it, that's what happened. After the war, my parents came to Australia to be the lucky country. They'd seen what it's like to gossip. For example, if a man lusted after a woman and a woman said no, he would say she's a Jewish sympathizer and she would go to concentration camp. There was so much gossip, so much mistruth, that they learned to say very, very little. But at the same time, the family energy I was born into was freedom fighters, okay? Freedom fighters. So from the time I was very, very young, we were brought up with the books of Edgar Cayce on reincarnation, on honoring your intelligence, on doing your own research, on never believing everything you hear or are told. Do your own research. And my parents thought it was good for us to have religious exposure. So we were of the Lutheran religion and we went to church. And I don't know, but for me as a child, I was incredibly naive. Everything that I heard in church about Jesus, I just believed it. When Jesus said, ask and you will receive, I started asking. I just went, okay, tell me, reveal it to me. When Jesus said, I and my Father are one, I went, wow, I'd like to feel that. When Jesus said we are made in the image of the divine, I thought, really? Show me. So I had many questions while I was at church, and eventually I was actually expelled from church. One day the priest told my father never to bring me back. Because I asked another question, and I was constantly asking questions, because that's what my father said we should do. And this question this day was, he was saying that if people didn't accept Christ into their heart and Jesus into their lives, then you would all go into like hell. You know, you wouldn't get to the paradise worlds, you wouldn't go to heaven. So I put my hand up, and he looked at me again as if, oh God, here she goes again. And I said, I just want to know that, are you telling me that if the children in Africa, sweet innocent children, never hear about Jesus, that they will go to hell? It didn't make sense. And it was like, that's enough. And then later said to my father, she's too disruptive, please don't bring her back. But I had this yearning, you know, ask and you'll receive, and I believed that. And I asked the universe, I want to have the experiences that Jesus is talking about, not from an ego reason, just because it just felt right. You know, there's an inner hunger. And coming from a family of a lot of love, then you don't have to look for parental family love. You've already got that. You move into the next level and start to be aware of the global game and higher levels. So I put that call out to the universe, and as some of you know, when I was then 16, I was lucky to meet an Indian guru who was traveling with his Mahatmas in Australia. And while he spoke Sanskrit and I didn't understand the words in the satsang, I could feel the energy, and my inner being went, yes, that's what I want. Whatever you've got, I want it. Because I could feel, you know, this pure energy. You can feel it coming from someone who is deep in the experience of the God force. So I began meditating, and the very first day that I began to meditate, my whole head here, my third eye, just exploded. So much light. The most incredible cosmic light show. It was like, whoa, I can see light, I can see light. It was funny because I was meditating under a blanket and my parents were there. We were in a car. They were driving me back home. I'd said to them at 16, I've got to have this initiation, and if you don't take me to where it is, I'm going to hitchhike. They said, that's okay, we'll take you. They waited all day, and when the initiation was done, we were driving back in the car, and I was sitting under the blanket meditating, and they were thinking, oh my God, what is she doing? And when the light came, I just went, oh, I can see light, I can see light, I can see light. And my mother turned around and looked at me, and my father went, that's nice, dear. And with the light came so much love, just wave after wave after wave of so much love. And in that moment, I became completely addicted to love, to divine love, because I realized then I wasn't my mind, I wasn't my body, I wasn't my emotions, my personality, that there was this force inside of me that I'd been looking for my whole life. And suddenly it was like, whoa, flowing within me. Now you know what it's like when someone gives you this gift, these beautiful tools of meditation. You become so thankful. So then, of course, I fell in love with my guru for a while. And so appreciative, and I kept saying to my father, oh Father, you have to come to my guru, you have to learn this meditation. I was so joyous. And my beautiful wise father, he looked at me and he said, one day, my darling daughter, dear, you will realize what I have come to know. My master is within me. What a beautiful thing to say. So my father was right. The guru was right. As you apply these practices of service, satsang, meditation, and other things we'll share with you today, you do discover the guru within you. Your intuitive voice becomes louder and louder and louder. And when you listen to it, it guides you. And as you apply its guidance, your life comes into a life that is filled with grace. And people have talked here about hard work, the hard work we have to do. No, we don't. We just need to be the gods that we are and let the energy flow through us, and it will bring to us everything that we need in perfect time. There is a way that is hard work, and there is a way that is just being in the field of grace and letting grace support you. I would like that everybody comes into a state of consciousness where the universe literally rolls in ecstasy at your feet, so pleased to have you existing in the web of life. So when the guru said to me, you can never capture grace, I didn't like that. Because I'd already had experiences of grace, and I thought, wow, can you live your life in that flow all the time? And so my question then to the universal field is, what do I need to do to constantly live my life in this current of grace? Because while you cannot capture grace, there are things that you can do that will put you into the current where grace is constantly flowing. You can match frequencies with the energy of grace so that your whole being is an expression of grace in motion. Yes? That's the focus. So many, many stories here. As Newton was saying, I applied the techniques of meditation, and for me, I spent 5 years really battling with my monkey mind. How many of you find the mind can shut up just like that? Sometimes. I'd sit in meditation and the gurus had said, you have to go to the place of no mind. And I was always battling my mind, going, you are not in no mind, you're thinking, just always. But now and then a bit of magic would happen and you'd sit down to meditate at maybe 11 o'clock and you just go somewhere you don't know because you're in the space of no mind, and suddenly you're back and it's 12 o'clock and you go, where was I? I don't know, my mind wasn't there because I was in no mind, but boy do I feel good. Yeah? But it didn't happen all the time. In the meantime, the mind chatter, monkey mind. And I realized for me, as the inner one began to guide me, that we need to use the mind as a friend, to have no part of us in conflict, no part of us in struggle, to honor and love every part of us, but to understand what every part of us does and to give it its right job. So one of the first things with living on prana is introducing the body to the real master that you are. So that when you as the master speak and set clear intention on how you want the physical system to operate, the physical system says, yes, master, and does it in an instant. Does that sound good? Many years ago in deep meditation, Babaji came to me. And Babaji is one of the beings that has been guiding me on the inner planes. When I first saw a photo of Babaji, I fell in love. I didn't know who he was. And I carried the photo around for many, many years until that energy manifested in my meditation one day. And Babaji said to me very clearly, there is only one reason that a human being has a physical, emotional, and mental body system. And that is so that the divine one that you are can know what life is like in this plane of duality. I like that. One reason. The rest is detail. All the rest we get distracted with is detail. So I realized in my own journey, and this was a time when I was struggling, because living on prana, when you begin to do this consciously, in that you never take physical food anymore, okay? Zip, no more eating physical food, all right? What happens in the physical body is the physical body loves it. Straight away the physical body went, woohoo, no more digestion, no more elimination, yay, holiday, okay? Because it loves it. And do not underestimate, the physical body knows how to do this. You have all lived on prana purely. There was a point in your own evolution when you separated from source and became individualized, where you lived on cosmic particles, on the ethers. And then as you descended further into matter and took on board the conditioning of this world and densified, then you lost the memory of how to do this, but your body remembers. So your body, when you begin to live purely on prana, it goes, thank God, about time. That's the physical body. The emotional body, it starts to have different reactions. And one of the reasons for this is because all of our socializing, nearly, is done around food. If you go on a date, some man asks you out, would you like to come for dinner? Okay. Your romantic realities, someone dies and you are celebrating their transition into another realm. What do? You gather, you share food. The birth of a baby, you gather, you share food. You have your dinner parties. So much of our social fabric is involved around food. So we have a huge dependence on an emotional body level to eating physical food. So what you find is you have one part of you going, woohoo, I'm living on prana again, my master's remembered. And then you have this emotional body confrontation and sometimes a little bit of, For example, nobody asks you out for dinner anymore. They don't know what to do with you. They might be having a dinner party with their friends. Should we invite Jasmuheen? No, she doesn't eat, and that gets a bit uncomfortable. So people feel more uncomfortable with your presence than you do, because as a master you learn to be in any situation with every single human being and be in harmony regardless. That's our training. But for other people, they can feel uncomfortable, and so it can be a little socially alienating. Mentally, you are constantly being challenged because what rises within you are deep, deep layers of years and lifetimes of conditioning. Maybe you had a lifetime where you starved to death in a concentration camp or some other sort of situation. Maybe you had a lifetime, as I have had many lives in India, where you starved to death. I had an experience, my beginning with learning, with asking, okay? Because when you're gifted with an ability, when this ability comes to you, it comes to you, one, because you have sought to understand something with a sincere heart, and two, the gifting of this is beneficial for human evolution. So 1,000 years ago, I was in a situation with the Cathars. Do you know much about Cathar country in France? The Cathars were a religious group, and it is said that Jesus wrote a book, one book, called the Book of Love, and that this book needed to be protected. And it was taken by Mary Magdalene to the south of France. And she lived with a beautiful group of monks and people committed to the teachings of the Christ, the way the Christ was teaching, not the way the church later took the teachings. And they protected this book called the Book of Love. In that time, there were changes politically, and over 100,000 Cathars were killed, slaughtered, because of their belief systems. I was part of that community 1,000 years ago, and as the last of us huddled in a beautiful little stone temple high upon a mountain where we were seeking refuge, all our supplies were cut off. We couldn't get food anymore. Once the food we had finished, then we stayed in this little chapel singing. And we were singing songs to help those who were leaving their bodies to transition into the higher realms. Songs of great love and compassion. And as I sat there with these people, and I watched the children die, and I watched my friends die, and I watched what was happening, my practical monkey mind said, this is ridiculous. We should learn how to live without food, and then we wouldn't die of starvation. Okay? So with great emotion, and this is part of what changes energy fields, is not just a mental idea, but a deep, heartfelt wish. So as I put that wish out into the intelligent field, that can't we live in a different way without food? Because then none of these children I love and ones that I love will die like this. Even though you can surrender and accept death, it was just a curiosity. Ask, you'll receive. So the next time I came into India as a woman, and I learned how to live on prana many, many lifetimes ago. And in that life, I was a woman who told stories and lived on prana very quietly. And again, this time, we just come as a white girl, a little different. And it's interesting because, you know, if I began my work in the West 15 years ago being noisy about this, if I had have come with your skin, with darker skin, and my Punjabis, and said to the West, oh, there is a power, it is called prana, and it is incredible. When you meditate upon it, it will bring you into great joy. I remember If they have been like that in the West would go, oh, Guruji, oh, very good, yes, I accept all this, but that is you. You are Guru. I am simple white person. I couldn't possibly. Yeah? That's what we do. That's what we do. Oh, you are great Guruji. I couldn't possibly. So this life, I come as a white girl. I am a mother, I am a wife, I am a grandmother. And the white guys, they look at me and they say, oh, okay, you're a normal person. If you can do this, I can too. Isn't that good? So this is our cosmic marketing plan. And I have to share with you, we have a very particular cosmic marketing plan. Why has this happened? This has happened because millions and millions of people on planet Earth have been saying, surely we can live in peace. Surely we can feed the women and the children and take care of everybody with dignity and honor. Surely we can use our intellect, our heart energy, and create one people living in harmony on one world. Now, as soon as a planetary system does that, that call, that desire, opens up interdimensional doorways to realms that are already existing in that, to realms who've moved through the stages we are moving through, who are our brothers and sisters intergalactically, interdimensionally. And they say, oh, planet Earth wants to live in peace. And so as you sit in meditation, you start to get visitations eventually from beings of great light and great love who have heard your call and are happy to work with us as cosmic colleagues to lead the way into new level of reality, a new way of being. So prana is where, living on prana, no food anymore, that's where we'll eventually go. But my reality with this is, I don't care whether you eat or not. Did you hear? I do not care whether you eat or not. It is not relevant because I know where we are going. I really invite you to enjoy food now because eventually you will naturally lose your appetite. Enjoy it while you can.